Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kata Chronicles.
Okay, guys, welcome to the 5th episode of the Kata Chronicles, and this week we've got a bit of a UK hardcore legend on with us. Well known to most people, I assume. Guitarist for Knuckledust, bass player for Ironed Out. I am talking, of course, and host of Everyone But Us podcast. Of course, I'm talking about Mr. Wema. How you doing, bruv?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you. How are you doing, John?
Yeah, not too bad. Getting ready to go back to work, after the...
Oh, good, man, good. You must be bored staying at home.
For this.
Brilliant.
Infraction have started writing new material.
Nice, man. So when's that going to drop? Anytime soon or next year?
Probably next year now, I think. The idea, I mean, we're writing it now. The idea probably going to hold it off until we can play shows, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I just think we haven't even played the last EP live yet to anyone.
I know. And Ironed Out have had the same thing. We dropped an album and we haven't been able to get out there and play or do anything, man. It's annoying, but it is what it is, man. It is what it is.
Yeah. There's not much you can do about it, this situation, is there?
Nah, I'm kind of like... I'm a bit over talking about it now. I just feel like it is what it is, and we just... I can see the light at the end of the tunnel now, I think. And
right.
Actually, I've got a good question for you, man. Are you happy to take the vaccine? I ain't getting all tinfoil hat, but are you happy to take the vaccine?
I think I would be, yeah. I mean, the thing is, the way you've got to look at it is we're not going to be the first. We're not going to be the first people to get it anyway. You're going to see what happens to people like Nicky Baxter first, because the first line responders will be the first to get it. So you can just sit there and watch Nicky and see what happens to him, and then be like, "Yeah, that don't look so safe."
Yeah, but he kind of looks weird already, so I don't think we're... Is that Nicky being weird, or is that the vaccine? I don't know. I'm joking. I mean, the thing is, I always think it's like asbestos. Back in the day, asbestos was this amazing thing. You put it into material, it makes it stronger. You can do this, you can do that. And then I used to find that in 20 years, time, it gives you like cancer. So and I'm thinking, is there something that we don't know about?
So the example I've been using is the thalidomide thing. Because obviously that was like a vaccination. And it all seemed safe and fine. But it wasn't until then people started to have children and they were born without limbs.
Yeah,
that we realised that actually thalidomide wasn't a great thing, sort of thing. It wasn't until a generation later.
Yes,
there was any side effects,
and that's scary. And you think they're going to give that to like the world, the nation? Like it's a big deal, man. Like what I don't understand, and I'm not a scientist, and what I'm saying may be factually wrong, but all the other strains of COVID or coronavirus, all the other strains, there's been no vaccine from.
No.
So what's different about this one?
The SARS fall under coronavirus? Thankfully, I've got a scientist on next week's one. On next week's podcast. Research entomologist.
Ask him or her.
Yeah, so I'll be asking Erin, I'll be like, so how come do we need a vaccine for this one and not the previous ones? I know she works in the field of malaria. Hangs out with mosquitoes all day long.
That's dope, man. That's dope.
So yeah,
do you know what?
Be digging around with her to find out more about this sort of vaccine stuff.
That's dope, man. That's dope. I'm gonna listen to that. That's the kind of, that shit I find really interesting.
Yeah.
But what's weird is like with this coronavirus, like the whole world have put their resources into finding this vaccine.
Yeah.
And you think about cancer. Do you like the fact that you have to have like charity shops for cancer?
Yeah,
disgusts me.
But
every day we'll hear, every day we're seeing it. Me, you've seen it. People getting cancer, people fighting it, people unfortunately are dying from it. Yeah. It's affected me. It's like, why can't? Where's all the resources for cancer? Because I feel like that's if not a bigger killer than.
I'm gonna go a bit tinfoil hat here. Coronavirus happened so quick that it affected the economy.
That's what this is the bullshit thing, man.
Like this has like the idea of getting people healthy and all the rest of it probably has more to do with the fact they want people in work and the economy functioning than it has to do with our general health and safety.
That's sick, isn't it? When you actually sit back and think about it, it's sick. So what you're saying is, if cancer affected the economy,
yeah, it probably
you could possibly have a cure for it. And I mean,
you certainly have more money being invested in researching it.
Yeah. And I know cancer and coronavirus are two different things because there's different types of cancer, but it's just, it's just sad that you have to have charities and fundraise, you know.
Yeah, like the research. I mean, there is a lot of money ploughed into research for cancer, but not anywhere near, clearly not enough to get it solved.
Yeah.
Whereas like coronavirus, apparently we were on the verge of 3 different vaccines in less than a year.
Because there's money in it as well. There's going to be someone making a shitload of money out of that, man.
Of course, there'll be people making money out of it, but at the same time, I'm kind of okay with that. I don't mind someone making money out of it if they're putting the money in for the research and development of it.
No, I mean, yeah, I agree with you there. What was it? Remember, there was a program. What's the medication that they use to treat AIDS patients? And he upped the price.
Oh, the guy who ended up buying that single Wu-Tang album as well, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Scolari,
yeah.
Martin
Scolari.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if they done what he done, which was like up the price, and
he made it like so that it was unaffordable to people, to the general person that needed it. It went from something like £6 a pill to £6,000 a pill or something ridiculous like that.
But he would only do that if he thought people were willing to pay for it. And I know that people like me and you couldn't, but there must have been some method to his madness. He mustn't.
You've got to realise that when it comes to saving your life, you'll find a way of doing it. But obviously £6,000 per pill is ridiculous. Sick. Like you're talking about millionaires can afford to do that, not average Joe Blogs on the street.
I know, it's fucking sick.
So, but yeah, you're always going to have them people that exploit the loopholes in the system. That's that's just the unfortunate part of capitalism, really.
It's fucking sick. There was a brilliant program on Netflix. I can't remember. I watched it about a year ago, and one of the programs it's like mini series, and one of them was about the pharmaceutical industry.
Oh right, yeah.
And some of the shit they do, man, it is absolutely disgusting, man. I had to turn. I would say like halfway through, I wanted to punch the TV.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's just.
Have you seen that film, The Big Short?
Yeah, is that the one with the bankers?
It's the mortgages and the property scams and all that.
Yeah, that's a brilliant film, man. That's a real life story, isn't it?
Yeah. That's basically what happened to them. That's what happened to the prime mortgage estate over in the States, and it affected everyone. But it's one of the things where you're watching it and you're seeing these people making money off of betting against the general public.
Yeah.
And it pisses you off. You're just like, fuck, this is what they did. You know, they were like, you know what, we're going to bet against the market, and the end result will be loads of people are homeless. That's
fucked up. Let me ask you a question though, right? If you knew any insider and he said, John, right, if you put £50 in this, you're going to make 50 grand, but you knew that 50 quid someone's going to lose their home, but you'd make 50 grand. Be honest, do you think you'd do it?
I don't know. I can't say that I wouldn't do it, but at the same time, I'd like to think that I've got enough morals to go like, well, like someone's going to lose their home over this.
But then some people's response to that would be like, they're going to lose their home anyway. Yeah, so I might as well I'm just being devil's advocate.
No, I get that. But again, it's like, you can't definitely say they would. If you're being told, if you invest this 50 quid, you'll make 50 grand, but someone will definitely lose their home. As opposed to if you don't lose it, well, they may lose their home or they may not lose their home. But you're saying when I do it, they'll definitely lose their home. At least if I don't do it, there's the chance, even if it's 1 in a million chance they don't lose their home, there's still that one slim chance they don't.
Yeah.
So I'd have to, being as someone who, like yourself, I come from a poor background. It's not like we come from like well-off backgrounds. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've been close to homelessness in the past, where it's like on a razor's edge, and I couldn't put someone through that.
Yeah.
Because
course,
I've been too close to it myself.
Yeah.
You know, the council have already said to me in this place, like where I live now, I could be made homeless if, like, I don't have somewhere to go afterwards when mum passes away.
Yeah, it's horrible.
So
we had a friend go through that, actually. I don't want to say his name, but same situation.
Yeah, and it's just like, you're in that situation where you're like, okay, so you're telling me that despite the fact that we've paid rent and taxes and everything else, we've done everything correct according to the law, you'll still happily kick me on the street.
Yeah.
That's unfortunately how this government and local councils and all that's how they work.
It's because there's a housing crisis, and I'd rather have you out on the street in a family of 5. I don't know, we got a 3-bedroom house.
It's 2-bedroom, yeah.
A 2-bedroom, so they squeeze a family of 3 or 4 in there and then kick you out.
Well, this is,
they're just like
allegedly
juggling all the time.
Allegedly, this place houses 5 people.
Do you think that's possible from the sides?
I mean, physically you could, but it'd be like, you're talking about having the parents sleeping in the smaller room and then using the bigger room and putting bunk beds in there.
And
yeah, you could do it, but it'd be tight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wouldn't be comfortable living. But again, local councils and government don't give a shit about comfortability. They just care about making sure they can't be sued for not giving you a roof over your head.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to, unfortunately. Same with the NHS. The NHS only performs the procedures it needs to perform. Like, because it's massively strained. The government have continued to cut money from it endlessly.
Yeah.
So, you know, you end up on a waiting list for like a year, 2 years, because there isn't the money to get round to you.
Yeah. You're right, man. But yeah, getting back to my original point, I was just curious because I think with money, like people, the best people turn.
Oh God, yeah, it's quite.
It can turn anyone.
If you've got someone who's already in a desperate situation themselves, and you go, well, if you fuck this person over, it'll get you out of that situation. Most people will fuck someone else over to get themselves out of a desperate situation. That's just human nature, and humans have been like that since day dot. You've only got to look at like tribal stuff in caveman times and like ancestral and things like, you know, medieval times. Everything was, we've got limited resources, so fuck over the next person or take the next person's land, so you've got more resources.
Do you think that's a bit of a human? That's just the way we are as humans. We just.
It's if you actually go back and look at a lot of human nature and look at it as humans being an animal, it's all based around the fact that a lot of it, even things as like racism, it's based around that person over there is the other to what I am, and they are potentially a threat.
Yeah.
It's that sort of the threat of the unknown.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I had I had a conversation with someone about racism and will it ever end? And we were both saying that I can see maybe another, I don't know, 25 to 50 years when more and more people are mixing, you're getting more and more, you know, mixed couples from different ethnicities.
Yeah.
Then there won't be a white, there won't be a black. But then I said, yeah, but then the next thing would be, I don't know, what shade you are, or how your eyes look, or
there will always be like
it'd be something. Yeah.
So like, if you look at the way mixed couples, it's generally, say for example, you've got a group over there that are like white and black mix, and then you've got a group over here that are, say, Asian and Hispanic mix, like Japanese Hispanic mix. So you've got mixed races, but they're still opposites to each other. So them two groups have a problem with each other. And until you get this sort of, I don't know, this is very sci-fi, but if you ever look at like sci-fi films and they show like the version of an alien that's just kind of grey.
Yeah.
Until you get to that point where everyone's just one bland colour.
How horrible would that be, man?
It's just like,
that's a great point.
Yeah.
When you see aliens and you just see them all hanging out like on films and that, and they all look the same, and there's no individuality.
Because what you have to assume is
that's what the Nazis want.
Yeah, pretty much. The way I look at it when they talk about that stuff in sci-fi is the fact that most sci-fi films that predict that the idea that the aliens are more advanced than us. which would suggest they've been around longer than us on whatever planet they're on. And therefore, they've probably gone through the whole racist thing, mixed the races until they've ended up as one generic fucking form.
Most probably, yeah.
And then they've gone, oh, now we're going to have a look for another planet to have a problem with.
Yeah, you're right.
And that's probably what we'll do when we get to that point where we can get off this planet and find other life. We'll be like, let's go and find someone else to have a problem with. Now we want your planet, motherfucker, because we've got up here and we need more resources because we fucked our own planet. Again, it's just human nature. It'll be imperialist expansionism. It'll be all of us against whatever's up there.
Yeah, you're right.
It's never going to change. I just don't think it's in our nature to change. I'd love to think it was, but that's way too much of an optimist's outlook on life, I think.
Do you know what's funny about this conversation? Like, I can't remember what show it is, but one of the shows I dropped you home, and for the listeners, me and you we grew up in the same sort of area in East London.
Yeah.
So when I dropped you home, because you live on Prince of Regent's Lane, my school was St Joachim's School, which is my primary school. You know that school, right?
Yeah.
Do you know St Joachim's?
Yeah.
So I used to have to, because I grew up in Butchers Road,
right,
which is just near Canning Town, and then I moved to Beckton.
Yeah.
But I was still going to school in St Joachim's. So when I was going back home from St Joachim's to Beckton, I had to walk past Prince of Regent's Lane. And I've talked about it before, I always remember that walk and just seeing NF signs and swastikas and white power and blacks out. This is like in the 80s, man. It was like, and Prince of Regent's Lane, I used to try and avoid it because whenever I went on that road, you always used to get like gangs of white youths hanging on it.
Yeah.
And like it was aggy, man.
Here's how it shows about when people talk about white privilege. I grew up right on top of Prince Regent's Lane.
Yeah.
In the house I'm in now. And it's like I never noticed any of that sort of shit because it wasn't aimed at me.
Yeah.
Like I didn't if I'd have seen NF on the wall, I wouldn't have known what it meant.
Do you remember seeing it?
Off the top of my head, no. Honestly, I don't.
Okay, yeah.
But again, I wouldn't have been looking for it because it wouldn't have been affecting my life.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, again, this is when people talk about this whole idea of white privilege. It's not saying that white people are privileged in money-wise, this, that, whatever, because obviously I'm not. But it's things like that I wouldn't have even thought to look for a swastika or an NF sign, or it wouldn't have attracted my attention because it wouldn't have meant anything to me. It wouldn't have been a threat to me.
Yeah.
It was just a squiggle on the floor, on the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I would have even recognised a swastika is because my dad was obsessed with World War II.
I thought you were going to say something else then.
Like my old man was absolutely obsessed with World War II, and like we've got tons of books on it from there, and we've got like the World at War video when it was first shown on TV, the World at War show, and it's like 50 episodes or something. It goes through every year of the war and what was happening and all the rest of it, black and white footage. Like my old man made me watch tons of that when I was a kid.
I love World War II stuff, man.
I find it boring as fuck, but I think it's because it was drilled into me at such an early age.
Oh man, no, I love World War II stuff. Like, but I tried to go deep into it, and it gets too complicated, man.
Yeah, I mean,
it's so complicated.
I think one of the people that we both know to speak to about that is probably Rocky.
Yeah, Rocky, yeah. We got to Rocky.
I know Rocky knows a lot about the engineering side of it, like the German tanks and the planes and all that sort of stuff. He's really into that kind of thing and like the technology and the sort of industry that came out of the war sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
He seems to know, when I've had a few conversations with him about it, he seems to know a fair bit about like all the rest of it, but he doesn't seem that interested in the actual politics. He's more interested in the war itself.
Yeah. He's someone you should get on, man, because like as well as talking about stuff like that, he was in 17 Stitches.
Yeah,
he was in Injury Time. He's been around for years, man, playing drums, man.
One of the original LBU guys.
Oh, 100%, yeah. Like, and he's very quiet about it. Like,
I mean, Pierre was on a video interview thing recently, and he was like, I think the question was like when did the LBU start and all the rest of it. He was like, it's basically Knuckledust, 9 Bar, and 17 Stitches.
17. Do you know what? No one talks about 17 Stitches, but they played such a massive part, man. Like when we was first playing, man. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, I didn't really know them because by the time I came back to the scene properly, where I was paying attention to stuff, Rocky, Gibbons, and Side already started Injury Time with Matty and DBS. So I didn't really get to see 17 Stitches.
They were really, really good.
Like, I knew you guys. I didn't know you as people, but I knew who you all were because of Caliber.
Yeah.
Like, I knew Terry and Terry going to school.
Yeah.
So I knew that lot, and then kind of saw your bands because I was going to see my mates. Like, I was going to see Caliber, and then Knuckledust would be on the bill, or 9 Bar would be on the bill.
And you'd be like, "What the fuck is this shit, man? What have I walked into?"
It was really strange because, like, I was a metalhead before that. Like, Terry Haynes got me into metal just a few years beforehand. And then it was like I'd go to see Caliber at the Ruskin Arms, and people were swinging their arms around and throwing spin kicks, and I was just like, okay, this is kind of cool and all the rest of it. But I think the time when it really noticed to most people was obviously the Hatebreed Sepultura show.
Yeah.
I think that was my experience. Like, I'd been to see like Madball and that before, but I hadn't really seen people pitting like that hard at the time. And then we went to that Hatebreed show. And
do you know what?
Yeah, that was mental.
I missed that. I missed that show, and I heard so many stories about it because apparently it was like more. It was predominantly a metal crowd, 80 to 90%.
Probably,
but
yeah.
like,
but there was 10% of people wearing tracksuits.
Yeah,
it looked so out of fucking place at metal show, especially back then. And it was like everyone was down the front. I got pulled down there by I think it was Terry Haynes, to say, "I'll come down the front with us." So I was like, "Oh, cool, safe." Go down the front. And I think McBoo was the one that told me this, but there seemed to be some sort of plan that had been instigated where, like, they needed to open the pit up, and they knew that metalheads wouldn't understand what the fuck was going on, so they physically needed to open that pit so they could dance. And they literally just turned around and lamped whatever was in front of them.
Oh shit!
And just like metalheads were just like, "What the fuck just happened?" Because they weren't ready for that, and I don't think like that was literally like UK, like mainstream UK metal scene finding out what hardcore was.
Yeah,
like that. I really do think that was a turning point. And I mean, me and you have had this discussion a few times in the car and that about like how metalheads view that as a very negative thing, like the way we dance and that, the hard dancing.
I was just about to say that's when the metal scene and the hardcore scene, like the hardcore scene doesn't hate the metal scene, I don't think, but the metal scene hates the hardcore scene.
I think
that's how I view it. Am I wrong or right?
I don't think we hate the metal scene, but
no, I'm saying the hardcore scene doesn't hate the hate the metal scene, but the metal scene hates the hardcore scene. So the hate, I feel like, comes one way.
Partially, yeah. I mean, I have my disagreements with the metal scene because I think they're very fucking elitist.
Oh yeah, they are.
I don't know the hardcore scene can be as well, but like, I think a lot of the people I encounter from the metal scene that are strictly metalheads that have never come to a hardcore show or whatever, will look down on the hardcore scene.
Like cavemen.
Yeah, they look down at us as like, what the fuck? Because let's face it, on a technical note, for the most part, their music's way more technical to play. They think of hardcore as being really simplistic, which I would then say to them, go and try and play fucking Hellbent riffs.
Yeah.
Go for it. Have fun with that, you fucker. Or, a band that they seem to have embraced, like Converge. I'm like, well, that's a hardcore band.
Yeah, I heard your podcast in May and you was mentioning that.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like, I went to early Converge shows when they came over here, and it was all people like in the hardcore, spin kicking, punching, all the rest of it. And then 6-7 years later, when the metal scene embraced them, it was all people wearing black leather, just sort of banging. Yeah, like, it's cool. They've managed to cross over and get a bigger crowd. Cool. The thing
is, right? I don't want to sound elitist. To me, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, if you want to headbang and if you want to dance hard. But the problem is the two don't go together. So if you get a bunch of metalers that are interested in hardcore and they come down and they do want to headbang and then they get kicked in the face, it's going to put them off.
Yeah.
And that's the barrier we've got. That barrier's never going to go. It's either they conform or that's it.
Yeah, and it's weird to say that they have to conform considering the hardcore is all about non-conformity.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to do what we do, otherwise you're not going to enjoy yourself here. However, be non-conformist.
But you know what? You've hit upon a funny point because, and this is not me having a dig at them, but this is why Hatebreed have you know, they come to that crossroad and they've taken the left towards metal. And if back in the day when that beatdown kicked in on one of their songs, Jamie would be saying like "destroy the place," but now he's going "wave your hands" or "jump up and down." Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
There's two elements of that though. Do you think he's also realised there's more money to be made out of doing the metal festivals?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not hating him because I hate being they're successful, and if it's really hard because if you want to make a living from a band, then you can't. Unfortunately, there's certain things that if you want to be that level, there's certain things you're going to have to give up.
Yeah, you're going to have to give up a lot of what makes hardcore.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to have to sign to a biggish label to start with.
I would do that now. Would you sign to a big label? If someone said to you...
Yeah, I would. But I know what comes with that. I know there comes certain expectations from the label and things like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it off the basis of you've got to change who you are.
Yeah, no. And I think this is where you have... Like, when you're looking at some of the bigger labels, you start to have to be careful.
Yeah.
You've got to look at what are they actually expecting out of you? What do they want out of it?
Yeah.
Because you got to remember, Roadrunner went through a period in the 90s where they signed every hardcore band they could fucking get their hands on.
Bro, you couldn't fuck with Roadrunner in the 90s, mate.
Like, you know, they had Maduhu, they had Biohazard, they had Vision Disorder, Life of Agony. You know, they grabbed every major New York hardcore or surrounding area hardcore band they could get their fucking hands on.
Yeah.
But not many of them stayed with it very long.
Yeah, I mean, it was good for us though, because back then we didn't have like, you know, they introduced us to a lot of bands.
It gave us easier access to a lot of the first bands we all got into.
Exactly, yeah, pre-internet, like, so it helped us out a lot.
For me, Madball was one of the first like true hardcore bands I got into.
Yeah, me as well. Madball and Sick of It All.
Yeah, and that's only because they were on Roadrunner. I was into a load of metal stuff. Most of it was on Roadrunner Records, the stuff I was into. Looked into other stuff on the label, found Madball, really enjoyed it. Didn't really know it was hardcore.
Yeah.
Back then, there wasn't that differentiation in my head. It was like, this is just heavy guitar music. Has a slightly different vocal style because it's not Sepultura growling away like a lunatic.
Yeah, yeah.
Because Freddie's voice is quite a clean shout.
And the way they dressed, they
just like guys in track, like guys from around here, guys in tracks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People that I kind of looked at every day.
Yeah. Just that type of swagger. Like they had that, do you know what I mean? Like, oh, like I can like relate to this person. Like,
well, I think for me, because I came from a hip hop background prior to metal, they appealed more to that sensibility.
Was you into Stuck Mojo and all that?
Not really.
I like that one song.
I only own one Stuck Mojo album, and I don't think it's like even one of the ones that people generally like. I just saw it. I was like, oh, what's this? Like, didn't know who they were, didn't know nothing about them. Just saw it, picked it up, checked it out. I was like, that's all right.
Yeah, yeah.
They were one of them bands that I know some people really love their shit, and I'm just like,
I just like that one song. Promise tomorrow. I don't even know what the words are.
Yeah.
That one song.
Yeah. I think it's one of them ones that used to get played at clubs a hell of a lot.
Yeah. But that was me searching for hardcore. I heard that and I was like, that sounds kind of hardcore-ish. And then you Biohazard, and then I always give major props to Headbangers Ball, man. I know a lot of people have said it, but Headbangers Ball, man, they used to play so much, a mixture of different styles of heavy music.
Yeah, and you like a lot of it was Roadrunner as well. A hell of a lot of that was
mostly paid them for it.
Yeah, you'd see like, oh, there's Sepultura, there's Machine Head, there's Fear Factory, there's Dog Eat Dog, and it was just a load of Roadrunner bands, and then every so often like Madball would pop up, Biohazard would pop up.
Sick of It All, the first Sick of It All video before I even knew what hardcore was just look at what video was it?
Step Down?
No, the one before that. Just Look My Way.
Scratch the Surface.
No, before that. Ding 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 ding.
Fuck! Why haven't we got
my brain's gone dead. My brain's gone dead, mate. Everyone's going to be cussing us.
May's going to be screaming at the fucking.
I know. But that's the first video I saw, and to me, that was rap metal. Then, this is like rap metal. Then I saw the Step Down one, and I saw the dancing in it, the two-step in, and all. I was like, "What is this, man?"
Yeah, picking up.
Then you see Madball.
Stuff,
Oh, mate.
And then like Remember when Pierre had that fucking New York hardcore video that he was showing a trailer at shows?
Oh yeah. When that trailer came out, mate.
That changed London hardcore forever. That just changed the way we reacted to like the music.
Do you know what? When the Step Down video came out, people were doing the 2-step. Were trying to do like 2-step But then when that trailer came out, mate, yeah, like you said, the show after, that's when I first saw people windmilling, kicking. We was all doing it and just...
Yeah. The thing was, like, I mean...
That video started it, man.
I didn't know you guys back then. That I remember seeing you at shows and you're like... For anyone that doesn't know Wema, fuck knows how you're listening to that now. The guy's 6'4". When he starts deciding to throw a spin kick, it covers the room. Especially the small venues we used to be at, sort of thing. Like,
you
go to the Swan or the Red Eye or the Verge or something, and Wema throws a spin kick. It's like, that's the whole room taken out. And fucking Andy BDF. Another
he
tall
was dangerous, man.
Just like, okay, I'll be over on the other side of the room in the corner while you're dancing, yeah, bro.
Oh mate, and that period he was Aggie, man. He was always looking for a fight or something, man. Yeah.
I think these days the only person I pay attention to just make sure where they're at is Fatty.
Fatty still dances, doesn't he, man? Respect to Fatty, man.
Fatty still dances, but it's also like it's a pinball. Like he just disappears and goes backwards and starts pinballing around the fucking area.
Yeah,
yeah.
You've
just got to keep an eye on him to make sure you ain't gonna get clocked.
We got to come up with a name for it. The Fatty head bop.
The head bop. The on the one.
On the one. The one.
1, 2. It's amazing. The thing is, like, if you don't know him as well, that looks kind of intimidating because he doesn't look like he's paying attention to the music.
Yeah.
Like, because the first time I ever saw Fatty at a show, he was doing that, but he was sort of looking across the pit at me. Obviously, didn't know me and was just doing this sort of head bop that wasn't seemingly in time to the music. I was like, have I done something wrong here? Like, what the fuck? Like, this dude's just kind of staring at me and banging his head completely out of time with the music. Like, what the fuck is going on here? Like,
did you ever catch shows at the Red Eye with Nine Bar and Knuckles?
Yeah,
you did.
Yeah,
they were
always fun.
Yeah,
Red Eye.
That was the.
There was the Red Eye, the Swan. What was the place that's opposite what New Cross Inn is now?
Grosvenor.
No, that was Stockwell.
No, I know you're talking about.
It's now like a fancy wine bar type place, isn't it?
Yeah, with the worst food ever. Do not go in there and get any. I've got chicken wings out there, mate. It was worse than Iceland's, man. It was some. I don't know what it was, man.
I make some mistake of generally not eating when I'm at shows and then feeling like shit afterwards because I haven't eaten all day.
I always go to Morley's afterwards, man.
I did that at the Readyfest, actually. I didn't eat at all that fucking Saturday. The Saturday you guys played.
Oh, right, yeah.
So I went from like 11 till 6, did the Proven set, came off stage, almost collapsed because I hadn't eaten all day and my heart just went fucking ballistic.
Oh, shit.
Completely missed Raiden and staggered back into the venue to see you lot.
No, I can't eat and then watch the band. I like to eat at the end of the show. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're just relaxing and you're taking it in, like talking about the show, eating your food.
Yeah.
But you know that built that room or that there's like a next door to the Unicorn. There's like
the little green room we use for the bands.
No, yeah, next to that. Is that a brothel?
No, it's a hotel.
I see some shady shit going on there, man. I see one. So I'm not being sexist, I'm not being rude, but I see one woman come out, and there's about 8 dudes, man, come out with. I don't know what was 8 dudes come out with her. I don't know what, and it just looked dodgy. I
mean, I think it's attached to the venue. I think that is the inn part of New Cross Inn.
Okay. Oh, so it's
we had. I think we had Archangel booked to stay there.
All right.
And then something went wrong where it had been management changed and it had been double booked. And the guy who runs the venue and the inn and all the rest of it, like the owner, sorted them somewhere else out to stay.
Okay, fair enough.
And didn't charge us because obviously we were paying for all of it, but he didn't charge us for it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that is from what I understand. That's like the hotel part of the New Cross Inn.
Maybe it was just some guesting.
And then obviously you've got the room over the door open that's locked, which is the green room that goes into the back of the pub.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
Which is where we sick all you lot, horrible lot with a few beers and some crappy sandwiches. That'll do. Fucking, you go down there.
Yeah.
Get in your hole.
But yeah, getting back to say, I'm jumping all over the place here.
That's right.
But yeah, so you did catch those at the Red Eye. That was the 12 bar before.
Yeah,
the
that
12
was
bar.
that. I only caught a couple shows there because that's when I started to go traveling and shit. So I just kind of fucked everything off for a couple of years. And then when I came back, the 12 bar had just started to become where you were doing shows every month. And that's kind of where I met everyone at the 12 bar properly.
Do you know what? Do you see how the universe works, though? Because I was listening to the podcast you've done with May, which was really good, man. You guys talked about everything. Like,
yeah, that was like a long
coming on there thinking, what are we going to talk about? Because like you guys literally covered everything.
Yeah, there's always new stuff.
No, it was really good. It was really good. I enjoyed it. But you talked about that chance meeting with Terry.
Yes,
is it Terry Ains when you was walking in Beckton?
When I was at school.
School.
He wanted to shag my cousin.
No, you said that when he gave you the 50 caliber demo tape.
Oh yeah. We were walking through Beckton with our mate Matt. I was walking through there with my Matt, and he just pulled up in a car. I was like, "Oh, we've got this," and it was like, "Okay, cool, cheers, thanks."
Just gave you the 50 caliber. Yeah. Now, think about it, right? Not trying to get all deep, but if that meeting never happened, would me and you be sitting there having this conversation?
Probably, if they'd never formed 50 caliber at all and weren't playing shows, no, I probably wouldn't have met you lot.
Yeah, so that's mad, man.
Which is mad, isn't it? It's like, you know, because of people that I was friends with at school, like when I was 16, I'm now having conversations with people like I'm surrounded by a whole group of people that are musicians that are in amazing bands and are my friends.
Do you know what? It's like that film, The Butterfly Effect.
Yeah.
It's just like everything that happens, there's like something that occurs because of it, and on and on and on.
It's one of them things. It's like the people that I've met because of something bad that happened in my life. You know, and it's like, oh, would you take that bad thing back then? It's like, well, I don't know, because yes, something terrible happened, but the result of that is I've met this person, this person, this person.
Yeah.
And, you know, my life is where it's at now. So would I take away all that for this?
Do you know what? Sometimes, that's a good point. Sometimes you have to go through certain things to appreciate the good things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's about growth, isn't
it? It's mad to think the people that are around me now are people that I would never have expected to be around me 20 years ago.
Name some people.
Yourselves, like Knuckledust is a prime example, because I remember when I first started working for HMV, it was like 99, 2000. Like I said, I didn't know you guys personally. I didn't know you as people. I just knew you were a band that played with my mate's band. I started working at HMV. We had the metal section. And because they didn't have really anyone that knew metal at the time, that year's group of temps that took on, they took a few guys that were metalheads in, myself included, and a couple of others. And there was this girl called Lucy who knew a bit about hardcore. And she saw the Knuckledust CD, and it was Time Won't Heal This on Blackfish.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like, I really like Knuckledust as a band, but the fucking people they have go around with them, all their mates, they're all fucking tossers.
They're complete
bunch of cunts. And I was just like, really? Because I was like, because I know who they are through my mate's band sort of thing, who play a lot of shows with them. And she's like, yeah, they're just all a bunch of fucking idiot thugs. And I was like, that's strange. Like, okay, fair enough. And I'm like, in the back of my head, I'm remembering Terry Simmons as a little kid bouncing off the walls as a ball of energy, and someone I've struggled to have the patience to tolerate.
Yeah.
And also Terry Ains and the group of mates that they all hung around with, and the fact that we did get into a fair few scuffles and that around Beckton before they were a band and all the rest of it. So like, okay, I can see with elements, but I wouldn't say that any of that lot that I know are thugs as such. They're just idiots, we're just kids at the time.
Yeah.
And then there was another girl that came to work there a little while later from Tower Records when Tower all closed. And her boyfriend at the time was playing in guitar with a band called Frank with Frank Turner.
Yeah.
And so another one of their friends was like, and I found out about the whole thing with Pierre much later, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it was like, oh, like them guys are all thugs. They beat my mate up for no reason. Da, 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 da. And again, I'm sitting there going like, I just don't like. I don't see that they would have beat someone up for no reason. There would have been things that happened prior to
that
this.
situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so all these people were telling me that the LBU were these bad, horrible fucking people. And I'm just like, maybe. Like, I don't know any of them really that well, sort of thing. But then a few years later, I start coming to 12 Bar on a regular basis and hanging out with people. And the image that I've been given and the image that I'm presented with in person don't match up at all.
No.
And do you think that was I mean, I can't speak on it because I wasn't around at the time, but do you think that was a sort of an image issue that LBU gained at one point?
Yeah, it did, and I don't know why, because we was always like, we never went around looking for trouble or thinking we were bad boys or any of that stuff. Like, we was always like very welcoming to everyone. But maybe it was just the way we looked and the style of music we played, because I think when we started playing that, we was more into like the New York hardcore stuff, like, do you know what I mean? So yeah. Maybe when people heard it, they just have this picture of what type of people we are without actually knowing us.
Yeah, it just seems really weird, because everything that I was told prior to really getting to know people doesn't marry up with what I now know of the people.
Nah, man, like, yeah,
sort of thing.
Yeah, we're all like, honestly, I don't know that Frank Nietzsche situation as well. I don't know. To be honest, I don't even know too much about it. I know that he said something, and I think Pierre might have. I think Pierre might have done something, nothing major, and then that just took that took a life of it. That story took a life of its own.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it, you're talking about the time before social media, so you're looking at message boards and then like people talking about it, word of mouth on the street.
Yeah, and
it grows and it grows and it grows.
Yeah,
like
you know, it's like, innit?
Any rumor grows and changes as it goes from mouth
to
mouth.
Yeah, it grows. Yeah.
So by the time it probably got back around to me, it was like, they're all thugs, they're all horrible people, blah 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 blah. And I was just like I say, 3-4 years later, when Matty Barr starts introducing me to everyone, and Matty Barr's like one of the nicest human beings you could ever fucking hope to meet. Like, and he starts introducing me to Fatty and then to DBS and Poppy and all that sort of lot. I'm like, well, this doesn't make any sense. Like,
nah, it don't. I think the only thing I would say is, like, if there was someone like talking shit, or there was a situation that needs to be dealt with, like, we would deal with it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
we wouldn't, like, not saying we would go out and just clamp someone, but we'd go out and face the person and then have a conversation. Do you know what I mean?
And the thing was, like, it never fell out. Like, none of these situations came out of nothing. There was something beforehand.
Yeah, exactly.
Led to it. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, we're going to go around and beat someone up for the sake of it, or we're going to go pull someone aside for the sake of it. There was something prior that had led to the fact that had to happen. Yeah.
And,
you know, I think a lot of the outsiders didn't see that and were just like, oh, they're fucking thugs, this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
Which is really strange.
It's
strange for me now, looking back on it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I'd like to know what some of the younger people we've got now in the crew had heard prior to joining, or if they'd heard anything, like someone like Jake Marlowe.
Yeah. You know, it'd be interesting to say on.
Just to see what rumours they'd heard prior to, because remember, like, before he was in Idle Hands, he was in Goliath, and they'd played a couple of 12 bar shows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When they were really young. So I wonder, like, how much they even knew about us prior to being put on shows at the 12 bar.
That'd be interesting, man. Cause I've never heard like it from that. I've never heard someone else's take on it that was looking from the outside in. Do you know what I mean?
You're one of the originators. You're one of the first. Well, you are the first 4 people.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it was. You're talking about LBU.
Yeah,
or
you and 9 Bar.
Us and I would say that started from us and 9 Bar. And that black up was that term was actually Skinny come up with that term. He used to say, we used to always use the term black up to refer to being drunk.
Yeah, because it's like a Jamaican slang, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
That's what people don't know. So, like, when you see, like, if anyone ever sees London black up and they think it's something else, they might think we're advocating people fucking doing blackface. That's not what we're saying.
Yeah,
just to get that out there. black up is just Jamaican slang for getting fucked up.
Yeah, exactly.
Getting pissed, getting stoned, whatever.
And exactly that.
Which is funny because you've got like 3 or 4 straight edge members.
But yeah, that's where it came from. That's where the name originated from. And then, like I said, man, a lot of these stuff is just when the forums were killing it back then, man.
Oh, the forums were hilarious.
They were so entertaining, though, weren't they?
There was Yo London.
Bridge 9 was even like on the mistake side was
Bridge 9, yeah. Fracture, was it?
Fracture, yeah.
What was May's one? London Calling. Yeah. And I swear there was one between Yo London and London Calling. There was like another one that existed between them two.
They got to a point where I stopped going on forums, man, because it was just like it was just getting ridiculous. Because it's so easy to be anonymous. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. You could just use any name,
and just literally say anything. Yeah. Like, so it was just like it became a bit of a free fall.
Facebook and MySpace used to be like that as well. For a period of time, you could use any name on that. It's only more recently Facebook have made you use your real name.
Yeah.
And people have complained about that, being like, "Oh no, like why should I have to give over my details?" But it's like you can't say shit to people without knowing who you are.
I think and with Facebook, if someone wanted to request me as a friend, the first thing I usually do is look at how many mutual friends we got and how many friends. If someone requests me to be a friend. And they've got like 20 friends. I'm like, no, this is a new account. This is dodgy, and I won't accept it. But if they've got like 1,000 friends and 200 mutuals, then I'm like, yeah, cool.
I generally still check out who the mutuals are, because there's some people that I've got that I've been mutual friends with someone, but I only vaguely know the person I'm mutual friends with.
Yeah.
So it's like, unless it's someone that I've known for a long time as a mutual friend, like yourself or Gino or someone like that I've known for years, then I'm like, okay, fair enough. Like, they're obviously sound, because if Wema's mates with them or Louis mates with them or whatever, there's a fair chance they're a sound human being.
Well, if I'm being honest, I would say 75% of my Facebook friends, I don't know them, but I add people because Facebook, you use it for music, for promoting your music as well, and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? And hearing other people's music as well. So
that's what I started to do at one point. Was I started to just add a lot of people because I wanted to promote bands, or once Red kicked in, it was like, okay, need to be able to get the information this out to as many people that might be interested as possible.
That's what I don't. That's what I use Facebook for now, really, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I post the odd stupid bit of shit on there. Like, I don't use Facebook as much, and this is a conversation I've had with quite a few people on this podcast now. Like, how little most of my really close friends use Facebook. Like, most people that I'm really close with, barely on there.
Yeah, I had to.
It's kind of good, I think.
Yeah, you're right. It is.
Like, if I want to speak to you, I'll direct message you.
Yeah.
It's like...
No, I mean, with Facebook, there was a point where like I was on it. I had it on all the time. My phone would be pinging off all the time, and whatever I'd be doing, I'd be checking my notifications. I'll put a comment on something, and then I'll be seeing their replies, and then replying to other people, and and then it got to the point I was like, what the fuck am I like? What, like, I'm on my phone too much, like, just like it's like. I'll tell you what the change was when it started to affect my mood.
Yeah,
like if I read something, it would wind me up, and then it would have it was like affecting my day-to-day activity, and I was like, nah, this is not good.
When you've got to that point, it's a case of maybe put the fucking phone down and get rid of the apps. I did go through that for a period of time. Now I've learned where the cutoff is for me. Like, I'll fuck around and I'll have a bit of a sort of trolly argument with someone online, but the minute it starts getting personal, then I'm out.
Yeah.
You know,
which is.
I'm on a lot of the nerd pages on there, the different geek and nerd page type stuff on there, because that's what I'm into. But some of them nerds get real fucking heavy on their shit. And it's
really?
Like, oh, mate, like, I'm the sort of person who I can watch a film, enjoy it, and I can know all the background to it and all the rest of it. Like, take Star Wars, for example. I know the lore of the films and all the rest of it. I've read a fair few of the books. And I know a lot about what the story is and the interweaving stories and all the rest of it. But I don't know absolutely everything. But I'll get people on there, and they'll pick out one little thing you've said wrong, and they'll nail you, and they'll keep going on at you for about 4 hours straight, just attacking you on that one thing. It's like, bro, it's a fucking film. End of the day, like, yeah, it's fun to get involved in the universe or whatever, but I don't need to know every single thing about a fictional world that doesn't exist.
Yeah, but why do you think that? Because it did. Like, yeah, I agree with what you're saying, but why do you think it affected you so much? Like, you don't really know this person. Like, it's not.
That's it. For me, it's that sort of thing of sometimes I know I'm right, and if I know I'm right on something, then I'll get a bee in a bonnet about it. So if I know that I'm correct, and I know for a fact that and I can back it up with evidence, and you're telling me I'm wrong, then I'll have an argument with you.
Oh, right. So you can't walk away from it.
I can't walk away from it if I know I'm right.
Yeah. Okay.
If it's something that like you have more knowledge on than me, and like I'm like, okay, fair enough. You know, I've learned something I didn't know that about that. Fair enough. Cool. I'll learn something from it. But like, if you're telling me an example from a couple of days ago, was on a Street Fighter page, and they've revealed some new characters that are coming, and I was like, oh, that they only showed a model of it. They didn't give the name to it. And I was like, oh, that's such and such from another game. And they were just like, no, it's not. I was like, it clearly is. Here's all here's the photographic evidence of that character in another game. Here's the relationship to this character and how it's going to work. And this is what, you know, and just literally went through it all. And they just start slagging off your mum instead.
Oh, wow.
Just like, she's like, hold on a sec. So I've proven you wrong. And your comeback isn't so, oh, sorry, brother, I didn't realise, like, I don't know that game they've taken a character from, so my bad sort of thing. No, just slag off your mum.
Yeah, it's nuts.
It's just like, wow. And it's normally Americans. I'm going to say that up front. It's normally Americans. Like, I think there's 5, I've looked at the podcast statistics, there's 5 people from America that listen to this. So I'm not that fussed.
Oh, you got 5 people wanting to fight you now.
They've got a long flight to get over there just for a fight.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like, you know, it seems to be more in their culture to be argumentative on stuff like this.
Yeah.
Like, see, that's definitely a thing.
I think that's why, like, I've kind of not Facebook on the head now. What I do is I log out of it, and then I'll say in the day I might log in and out for about 5 times. I literally log in for 5 minutes and I log out. I log in for 5 minutes and I'll see like, because I'm like yourself, I'm involved in a few groups.
Yeah.
So if there's anything in a group chat, then I might conversate, and then I log out again, and that's it really.
If I see a notification on there and I look at it and I click on the notification, see what it is. If it's something I need to respond to, then I do. Or if it's a reply to a comment I've left, I'll just check the reply to see what the reply was.
So you leave your notifications, you leave your Facebook Live on all the time in the background?
Well, it's just in my phone, so like, I don't leave it on.
But then your phone ping every 5 minutes or something.
I've got notifications turned off.
Okay.
So I don't have it. The only apps that send notifications to my phone so they ping is Messenger and WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have anything else set to ping me a message to let me know that there's a notification, because fuck that, Facebook would be going off all the time.
Yeah. It'd be driving you nuts.
You got to remember, you get notification for your pages as well. So like ReadyEye gets a lot of pings, because where Rich is always putting posts up for like promoting shows or just to get people's interest on things. Like he'll be like, oh, we've got this band playing a show, so we'll put up a video of Voorhees or something like that playing. That suddenly gets a lot of likes. If you've got notifications on your phone and it's going on, it'd be going off every 5 minutes.
Can we just say that Richie is a grinder? That guy really was big up to Richie, man. That guy, man.
ReadyEye would not be what it is.
Really works hard. Like, really, yeah.
All the other 3 of us would literally say, look, you know what I mean? We all put in our work, but if it wasn't for Rich driving the way he has done, it wouldn't be what it is.
Yeah, big up to Richie, man. Yeah.
Big up to Rich. Me and him argue like cat and dog all the fucking time over certain stuff.
Who wins most of the time? I bet he does.
Yeah, honestly. And to be quite fair, every time he's won the argument, at the end of the day, when the thing's gone into action, he's been right. Like what he said has happened.
Fair enough then.
So, you know, I've got to put my hands up and be like, you know, with me, I'm going to argue the point sometimes to play devil's advocate and be like, think about this, because if this goes this way, you need to be prepped for that.
Okay.
And I generally play the negative side of a lot of things, just to be like, look, be aware.
Are you pessimistic?
I just want to be prepared for the worst possible outcome.
Okay.
So yes, I'm the pessimist. I'm kind of in the group as the resident pessimist.
That's your job.
It's like if we've booked the fest, I'll say, look, assume we're only going to get half the capacity in this place. If the capacity is 350, assume we're only going to get like 150 people turn up. And that way, you know what the worst possible outcome is for the money, for tickets, how much you've got to pay bands, all the rest of it. And we've never, ever hit that worst outcome situation. But to have that in the back of your head is a good idea.
Yeah.
Like, it's great being optimistic, but if you get overly optimistic and overly confident on what you're capable of doing based on your past results,
you can quite easily find yourself in
dig yourself a fucking grave.
The only good thing with you is that there's 4 of you to like take the bunt. It's not one person taking the bunt. It's like 4 of you.
Yeah,
so
it's 4 of us. It's still very broke.
Yeah.
So from a financial point of view, if the show doesn't go well, we're still fucked. But we can share that fuckedness out between 4 of us.
I feel like BDI has like got a certain it's quite well known now. I think like whatever you guys do, you're always gonna have a certain amount of people turn up.
Yeah,
because you promote it really well as well. So I think you guys.
I think we've been very lucky. We built a reputation on. You got to remember, our first show was tiny. It was a T-Chance with 50 Caliber headlined it. And then we did another small show, and then I think Rich was already talking to Tim about doing the 10th anniversary for Cold Hard Truth before Radio was even a thing. And so he brought that to us and was like, why don't we do this as a Radio thing? And that was an all-dayer. And that was a big risk in my eyes, because I was like, we've done 2 small shows and now we're doing an all-day at the Boston Music Rooms. Right, let's just take a step back here and think about this, boys, because this is like, I'm happy to do it, but if this goes tits up, we are fucked. Because at that point we had, we'd made a little bit of profit, but we didn't have money kind of to pay out bands like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And luckily, though, it went really well. And it's not just the fact that we promote it well. You've got to thank people for coming out to that, because people don't have to fucking turn up to your shows.
Yeah. But people support you guys because you're all good guys, man. Like, so.
And I think we've been very lucky in that regard. People have come out to the shows and they have supported us. And we've just grown slowly. Like, we've taken a few. Like, the fest is a risk. From an anxiety point of view, I hate doing the fest. Because I'm just sitting there shitting myself that it's all going to go tits up. Whereas the other 3 are quite optimistic about it. We'll be fine. I'm just sitting there going like, why?
That UK hardcore return, when that does happen, man, that's going to be there's so many bands, man. That's going to be
That's one I'm not actually that pessimistic about, because of what it is.
Yeah.
Because of the very nature behind that show and the thought process behind the show being a celebration of our own scene across the country, coming back after all this bollocks we've gone through this year and possibly definitely into the early part of next year.
But what about the other side of it, the politics side, the band stage time politics of it, right? Because you've got so many bands, you've got a certain amount of hours in a day. If a band's on at 12 o'clock and their slots till 12:30 and they're setting up and they're not starting till 12:15, are you happy to go up to that band and say, no, you've got to come off, even though they've only played half their set list?
If you're not happy to do that, you shouldn't be a promoter.
Yeah, I'm just trying to say, because bands, that's the one thing with hardcore bands, like, and I love you all hardcore bands. I'm included in this. Some of them, time schedule wise on stage, they take 10 years to set up.
I've seen like you've got a 15-minute slot to set up. We normally give like 15 minutes between bands.
Yeah,
we try to. And I've seen people like 20, 30 minutes later still setting up, and I'm like, you do realise this is coming out of your set time, yeah?
Yeah, but have you ever had backlash from it? Have you had anyone get pissed off of you? Like,
not really. I've not. Yeah. No, I don't know about the other guys, but I've never had anything like that. But again, I mean, I was actually having this conversation with someone today. And so, you know what I mean? If you are in a position of promoter and you're not happy to go up to a band because they're intimidated, like, say, for example, you walk up to Tim Cold Hard Truth and be like, sorry, mate, off you go. A lot of people would be scared of Tim. Like, let's not fuck around. The guy's a big lad.
Yeah.
But I'm of the opinion if you can't do that, you shouldn't be doing this job. You shouldn't be in the promoting game, because bands are just going to take the absolute piss out of you if they know they can get away with it.
Yeah. And that's the hardest thing of all dads, is keeping on top of that, because if every band's 10 minutes late and you've got 10 back, that's an hour out for the headliner. Yeah. So,
and that, I mean, I've seen it happen. I mean, I played a show where that happened. It was someone's memorial show, and one of the early bands, you know, just talked through their set, and then it ended up with the headliners only being able to have time to play like one song before the curfew.
Yeah, it's nuts.
So I've seen it happen, and it's just, you know, at the end of the day, it's down to the promoter to get on their case. Be like, oh, you need to shut the fuck up and get on with your set.
Yeah,
you know, it's that simple. You know,
mid speech, you can't do that. Yeah, it's hard. It's a hard thing, man.
Got a 20-minute set, and I've got a 10-minute speech. I guess you fuck off that 10-minute speech, then, mate. Is that, or you fuck off 10 minutes of your songs? Your choice. Yeah. But it's one or the other. But yeah, I mean, I think with UK Hardcore Returns, I don't see any real problems with that coming up, just because of the nature of the show. I think everything's going to be really good natured, that show.
Yeah, I can't wait for it, man.
And even though, like, I've always said, you know, to me, there's always been 2 or 3 clear different elements within UK Hardcore that don't necessarily get along.
Oh, really? Like, would you?
Like,
you have to go. You have to give names.
You got the Ruction side of things, and you got like the other more PC side of things, and you know, they don't always blend well. But we've got a mix of all them kinds of bands on UK Hardcore. But because it is that this is the first big show, hopefully, back after all of this.
Yeah,
and it's a celebration of the whole scene. I think a lot of them barriers for that one day, at very least, will be lifted.
Yeah, it sucks, isn't it? Barriers, man. Yeah. Yeah, what you're saying is, yeah.
I mean, Fergie's a big believer of the whole one scene, one unity thing.
Me as well.
And like, I sometimes want to put my arms around him and say, like, I'm so sorry that you're going to be disappointed every single time, because it's just not that. As much as I'd love to push that it is, and we'd love to, like, Radio has tried to like bring them barriers down somewhat by putting these big bills together. I think there's always going to be an element of a divide.
Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? It's such a shame, man. But you know,
yeah,
I mean, it is what it is.
It is what it is. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, it's one of those things, and you can't change it. You just got to kind of go along with it and move on with it. And we won't stop mixing bills because of it. If we think bands are good enough, we'll put them on regardless what fucking side of the scene.
Me personally, my favourite shows are mixed bills, man.
I
wouldn't want this to
beatdown show. I'll never ever book a festival that's just all beatdown. I never.
Yeah, I wouldn't want
all youth crew or something like that, because
just a mixture.
Senseless.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to hear fucking 0143 0143 played for 10 hours.
Yeah. Or you don't want to hear like 1313. Like,
yeah.
You want just a mixture, man. Like throughout the day, like.
I want to hear
even some emo shit. I wouldn't mind, like a couple of emo bands on all day. I was saying
we did. What show was it? I think it was the 9 Bar 20th anniversary show.
Yeah.
With Ruction, we did it, and we had like Stages in Faith. Were one of the opening bands, and they're like a rock emo band. It's cool, man. It's one of the guitarists from Split Knuckle singing for them.
Oh yeah, yes. And
it's like
I heard a song.
Yeah, it's like a sort of alternative rock, emo-y type sound to it. But they opened up for a show that was being headlined by 9 Bar on their 20th anniversary.
Yeah,
you know, I'd much rather do.
That's the Purple Turtle, wasn't it? Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
What was it called by then? The Crown Dale or some shit like that.
They changed the name again, didn't they?
Yeah, because I think we just put up the clip of 9 Bar's set from that, because it's 3 years ago today since we did that, or 2 years ago today since we did that.
You know what? I don't want to talk too much about it, but that was a show when I walked in there, and it was like, what's that? The Walking Dead, and I'm not going to say why, but it was. I thought I was walking among zombies everywhere. I'm not going to say why, but I was like, what the hell was going on?
It turned out to be a really good show towards the end, but it was it wasn't that to start with. It was a bit of a strange show, that one. We had a few issues with security at the venue, and yeah, the fact that venue's gone is, I mean, it's sad that a venue's gone, but at the same time, it's like, fuck that venue.
Yeah, I know the bounce. Oh, that's the time when out of the show where Skinny came up to the door with a sandwich, and the bouncer said no sandwiches in the venue. Like, what? And Skinny's like, what the fuck are you talking about? What do you mean I can't take a sandwich into the venue?
I was in the ticket booth at the time, like inside, and Leonie's come and dragged me out because Leonie worked there at the time. If anyone doesn't know Leonie, she dates the singer from Idle Hands, Tony. And she was working at the Crown Dale at the time. She come and dragged me out of the fucking ticket box. She's like, oh, there's a problem outside. And I was like, what the fuck's going on? So I went out there, and there's just Skinny on one side, the bouncer on the other, and they're just yelling at each other. And I was just like, what in the fuck has happened? And Skinny was like, oh, they won't let me in with this sandwich. And I was just like, looked at the security guard. I was like, he is the singer for the headline act. What are you doing? And he was like, oh, well, he's not allowed to bring food. And I was like, your bar doesn't serve food, so let him in. Like, it's a sandwich. He's not going to fucking kill someone with it.
The bouncer was just being an idiot, man.
He was just being a dickhead. And the bouncer wanted an apology from Skinny for being rude to him. And Skinny was
like, I'm not apologising.
Yeah, Skinny was like, I'm not apologising. I just looked at the bouncer and I said, well, you know, if he doesn't play and 9 Bar don't play the headline act, I won't be paying the venue. And I explained to the venue that it's because of you that the venue aren't getting paid. And I just
Skinny didn't want to do the show.
No,
Skinny was like, I'm not playing. I was like, Skinny, man, you have to play. Like, people have come for your 2-minute show. He was so pissed off. Do you know what I mean?
And like,
but then once he calmed down, he was like,
we had an issue with, I think Gino almost got into a fight that night.
Oh yeah, that was with one of our friends.
A friend of
bought a civilian.
Yeah. So he was pissed off most of the night, and then obviously we played the Proven set, and he went absolutely ballistic during that, and it was one of the best sets he played.
That was awesome. Really good set.
Just because he was so pissed off, and I was just like, well, that works.
Yeah.
And the advantage of being like two vocalists sometimes for me is like, I'm not that very open or forthcoming when it comes to talking to the crowd. So having Gino there was always the perfect
doing the
sort
thing.
of, yeah. Now I'm just on my Todding infraction. It's just like, oh shit, I've got to actually.
You have to come out with the punchlines, man. You can't be relying on Gino.
I'm just gonna let fucking Carrie do it.
Ah, cool. Yeah, Carrie's a funny dude, man. Yeah, he can.
Young lad, and he can get away with being a certain amount of cheekiness that I probably couldn't.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know, like he's young. He's like 25 years old. He's really young, and he can get away with being a sort of cheeky chap that I can't get away with. And Adam, Hannah, and Tom are all fairly quiet. So
just give him a mic and let him do his thing, mate.
Yeah, that's pretty much the plan.
But there were some videos from that show on. Did Richie share some videos today? I think on Instagram of that show. Actually,
there's he showed the one I've seen go up was the one where it's just like 9 Bar. They're doing Read These Box, and we're all on.
Was that one that Jay Brazil filmed it or something? Because he had credited Jay Brazil for the video footage.
Yeah, and there's there's me and Sam Atkins on the stage, and they're all doing that stomp, left, stomp, right.
Yeah, that show was packed, man. When I looked at the amount of people that was there, I was like, damn, it's packed.
Yeah, it was really well. But again, you're looking at 9 Bar playing a 20th anniversary show.
Yeah.
You know, hopefully next year we get to see you lot do your 25th anniversary.
I know, it's nuts, man. And 9 Bar will be there as well, man. So.
Oh yeah, and who is you two, us lot, and Stonehand.
Stonehand, yeah.
You got two younger bands, and then you got like 2 veteran bands.
Yeah. It's a good mixture, man.
Good mix, good laugh, and
hopefully,
good people as well. It's all good people as well.
Yeah. We just want to, the idea behind it was just that, mix the new with the old, and just whenever we do them type of shows, we always want to, like Knuckledust I'm referring to. We always want to have 9 Bar there as well, because it always feels like us and 9 Bar were there from the beginning, so it just feels right to have them when you have them there on the 20th when you're celebrating.
One of the first sort of bigger UK hardcore shows I went to was Stamping Ground, Knuckledust, 9 Bar, and 50 Caliber at the Underworld.
Wow!
And so I always imagined that 50 Caliber, 9 Bar, and Knuckledust should always be on shows together because they're three bands I just automatically associate as being together, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like that to me is representative of the original LBU. It's like them three bands should always. And I honestly thought 50 Caliber would have been on the 25th anniversary show. Like I didn't expect you to have younger bands on there.
Yeah, man. You know what? That's a good shout, man. Yeah.
I didn't think you was going to have younger bands on there. I thought it was going to be all like the people that had been around you from day dot, sort of thing.
Yeah, I think we just wanted to just
mix it up a bit.
Yeah, mix it up. Have a couple of like,
I remember,
just newer bands.
There was a show you did a few years back, a couple of years ago, and it was like you guys, Argy Bargy, Deadline, The Filaments.
That was put on by Hervey from Filaments. Like,
that was like a real sort of family night, like a mixture of all the bands that had kind of been around early that you'd all been part of and in and out of, sort of thing.
That was a really good night. That was.
Yeah, that was a fun show.
That was a really good night.
And it's like funny because like a lot of them sort of bands I wouldn't be into, but the whole atmosphere of the show and the whole vibe of the show made it.
Yeah,
like,
I always loved Deadline.
That's the thing. Like, I'm not really into Deadline, but like seeing them in that environment with all like this whole sort of family vibe around it, elevated it to be like more than I would have ever thought of it being, sort of thing.
Yeah. And I love Argy Bargy. I think Argy Bargy, I do really. I'm hoping they get back to, they haven't done much recently, but I'm hoping they get back together and start playing shows and do some new music soon, man. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, something I was going to ask you actually, because obviously Nicky and Ray are in Argy Bargy. Oh, I assume they're still in Argy Bargy.
Yeah, they are, but it's just on a what's the word? Hiatus.
And Pelbu's been in every band known to fucking man.
Yeah, he's been in about 20 billion bands.
And then there's you who didn't do a single side project at all for like what, 15 years, 20 years before that come across. So was there a reason behind not doing anything else? Was there something like, was there just no offers for anything else, or did you just want to focus purely on Knuckledust? And that was like, you just loved Knuckledust so much that you didn't really need another outlet.
Do you know what? I'm going to let your listeners in on a little secret. Me and you, we've done this podcast before, but it didn't record.
No.
So you had asked me this question before, and I think I gave you an answer. But then since that podcast, I thought that was quite a good question. I was thinking about it to myself, like, and I think when I thought about it, I think the honest truth was I was just so dedicated to Knuckledust.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I didn't see anything else. Like, I was just Knuckledust. And I think what it is, Pierre started doing these other things, and then Ray and Nicky started doing other things, but I was still like just dedicated on Knuckledust.
Yeah.
And then I think like it got to a point whereby like Knuckledust has slowed down, and you know, it's like when you're like, this is what you've done your whole life, you want to express yourself. When you've left Proven, you straight away you started a new band, didn't you? Because you need that outlet.
Yeah.
So like, I was like, I need that outlet, and then but I wasn't actively searching to or asking people to start a band, because at my house, I'm lucky enough I've got a studio and I'm into doing like beat production, like hip hop, R&B, and there's a few people like that I'm not no major artists, nothing like that, but a few people I'm working with, and we do, and that was filling the gap.
Yeah.
But and then so that was filling the gap, and then I just got the asked from Dave Maduhu, BDO, would you want to join Ironed Out and play bass? And I was like, let's do it, man. And I think that's the answer to your question. It's just that, so I didn't get so in answer to your question, I was doing the beat production.
Yeah.
And then Dave asked me, and I was like, let's do it. And then,
so if say like 10 years ago, in the heart of like Knuckledust touring and all the rest of it, if someone else had to come up to you and be like, oh, I've got another band I'm putting together, would you want to play guitar or bass or something like that on it? Do you think you'd have accepted, or do you think you'd have been like, no, I'm too busy with Knuckledust?
I don't think I would have. Because for me, like, being in a band is quite, I don't know how Pierre does it, because being in a band is quite a commitment, man. Like,
I guess it depends on how much, because like, here's the way I look at it. As a vocalist, I got the easy life.
Yeah.
To a certain degree, because I can wait for you to go and spend God knows how long it's going to take for you to go and write the music and all the rest of it. And all I got to do is pretty much wait for a finished product, and then just go, I'll write some bollocks over the top of this. That's not quite how it works in Infraction. I admit, like, I'm way more stick my nose in the music side of it than I should do, probably. But like, for you as the musicians, like, you obviously spend a lot more time coming up with riffs and figuring out arrangements and all the rest of it. So you probably are more committed to the one thing you're doing.
That's a good point. You know, if I was in another band and I'll write this amazing, they said to me, write some music, and I wrote a song that I thought was the bollocks.
Yeah.
And my mind's going to be like, I'm going to get the Knuckledust. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not I'm not committing to this band properly.
You're going to give them the sort of stuff that isn't good enough for Knuckledust. You're going to sort of the 50% decent stuff will go to this band, but the real good shit will be held for Knuckledust.
Yeah, I think that back, not so much now, but back then, definitely I would have done. Do you know what I mean?
Do you? Because obviously with Knuckledust, is it right to say that you probably composed most of the music for Knuckledust?
Do you know, we've tried getting in the room and just writing a song, and it never worked. We just end up looking at each other. We try some stuff, and it just never would go nowhere. So then I would go back and write a full song, and then introduce it to the band, and then we'll play it together. And then when we've got a song from A to Z, then the band would get together and put their bits on it and say, "I'll change this little bit here," and then it would morph into whatever it becomes. So even though I've kind of composed a song, once everyone starts playing together, it would turn into whatever it's going to be. But we needed the map to start with. Do you know what I mean?
So you need a sort of skeleton to build upon.
Yeah, exactly. I would give the skeleton. That's a good point, John.
You go so I've got an intro, the verses, the chorus bit, the break, and the outro. That's basically it is. And just mold it into whatever shape it's going to turn out to from that bass structure. Sort of thing.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah,
I created the skeleton, and then they put the body on it.
And then you hand it to Pierre, who then just goes and spits some madness over it.
Yeah. That's basically it.
And he's ironed out the same sort of process.
Ironed out, Dave brings in the skeleton.
Yeah.
And then we put the body on it.
Yeah.
So like, Dave would come with a skeleton, and then what we might do is just when my approach to writing bass is, I want it to be groovy. Yeah. So I'm always thinking, and because my background is, I started on bass, and I was in a soul band before I got into metal. Yeah. My approach is always the groove. So I'm trying to think of bass lines, and then we just add to it, and you know what I mean.
I gotta say, because I can't imagine, like, the bass lines I hear you playing Ironed Out, I can't imagine came from Dave.
No, they're all I write all my own bass lines. Yeah. I write all my own bass lines.
There's a certain groove and a sort of funk element to them that I was just like, that's coming from Wema straight out.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see, like, how people separate when they're in more than one band, how they separate the writing processes for the different bands, and like how they figure out that's going to be for this and that's going to be over there, and that's, I mean, for you it's two separate instruments.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and the sound's quite different as well. Yeah, it's not the same style, so that way something I write for Knuckledust wouldn't really suit, and
no,
vice versa. So if I was to come up with an idea, and I did write a couple of songs, but if I was to come up with an idea, it would be, and it'd be something Knuckledust wouldn't be able to use anyway. So it works well, man.
You're quite distinct. I mean, when Infraction first started as a side project to Proven, like, it was going to run side by side.
Oh, okay.
And it was only because Proven had kind of run its course that summer and decided we were going to split up at the end of Ready Fest, that it didn't end up crossing over. But that was becoming very much a case of, because it was two of us from Proven, me sitting there and thinking, how can I make this lyrically different from Proven? And Adam also trying to think, like, how he was going to play a different guitar style.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I can't just do the same shit I'm doing in Proven, because otherwise there's no point. We might as well just keep it.
You've got to change it up. Yeah, that's quite a hard thing to do.
I mean, his old idea was, I'm just to play Infraction and drop tuning, whereas like Proven was all in standard D. So by playing in a drop tuning, it means he has to play different. He doesn't have access to as many sort of like suspended chords and shit like that.
he has to play. He's a good guitarist, man. Very good guitarist.
Really good guitarist. I don't think he gives himself enough credit at all.
Why do you say that?
Because I sit there and I'm like, bruv, you wrote the Hellbent Die Hard album, or you at least wrote parts of that fucking album. And that album's absolute insanity. Do not tell me that you're not a great guitarist if you're writing that shit.
Yeah. I think it's good to critique yourself, though.
Yeah,
yourself.
And he'll do it with production as well. Like, he constantly asks me if we've had any feedback on the production on stuff and things like that. He's like, I don't know if it's good and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, bruv, it sounds amazing. What the fuck are you talking about?
No, you've done a good job, man. You've done a really good job.
I think he second guesses himself more than anyone else does. But again, I think that's everyone that's created. Like, I second guess my lyrics all the fucking time.
Yeah.
I second guess everything that I do, and I'm like, I don't know if that's going to work. I don't know if that's going to be good enough. I don't know if this, I'm just constantly worried about shit because I don't want to let down the rest of the band.
Yeah.
And like I said, with vocalists, we're the last thing to come in. So they could write the most amazing tune in the world. And if I come and stick some fucking nursery rhyme lyrics over the top of it, I could completely fuck their work up.
Yeah.
So you kind of you have to think about what you're doing, I think. And I'm constantly critical about it.
Do you know what? We had Street Soldier on the Everyone But Us podcast. Go on, listen to it.
To that one. I've just listened to that one.
Really did you?
I was quite surprised because I don't know them, and the vibe they give off in their videos and in their music is very different to how they seem in person when you speak to
them. Really nice guys, man.
Yeah,
really nice guys, man. Yeah, but there's a section in it where they're talking about writing music, and Scott came up with a good point. He said he writes the riffs, they build a song, and they listen to it over and over again, until it turns into what it does. But he said there's an important point when you've got to you got to just know when to stop.
Yeah, because otherwise you overwrite it. You overthink it.
Yeah, and that's the same with what you're saying. It's knowing when to stop.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It's like,
and that's the hardest part, really.
We're fractionally in the middle of writing new stuff now. We just started a couple of weeks back with the first new song, and I had the music for 2 weeks. Listen to it, and was like, I'd already set out what I wanted the song to be about. I'd already said, look, we need this kind of vibe because the lyrics I'm going to write are about this specific situation. And we did it, and I was even involved in the writing of I'd sat down with Adam, and we'd gone through the main riffs and all the rest of it with Hannah and Adam. We'd come up with stuff, listen to it for a few weeks, and I was like, it's just not what I'm looking for. So I mentioned it on a group page. Hannah went and wrote a completely new riff. We went with that. We recorded a basic version of it. I went and wrote lyrics, recorded them the other day and sent them over. And then Hannah went, you know what? That riff doesn't suit your lyrics now, so I'm going to scrap that and write a whole new riff.
Yeah, big up to Hannah.
And she said that to me today, and I was like, as long as I don't need to change any of the fucking lyrics at this point, please.
Yeah.
Because I've written all these lyrics that are very specifically tight to that beat pattern, that rhythm sort of thing.
Yeah.
So please don't change it so much that I have to completely scrap everything and start again.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is that process of you have to listen to it. But you're right, you have to at some point go, that's it. That's as good as I'm going to get it at this point.
And let it
go and see how it reacts. And the thing is, you will never know how people react to it until you play it live.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know about you, but I've written songs where I thought that's going to be the banger, and then you play it live, and it's something completely different that you didn't expect at all.
What, in a bad way, you mean, or?
Well, I thought, going back to the Proven demo, I thought, say for example, Snide Cunt, because it had the beat down at the end. I thought that'd be the one that everyone went off for. And people like it, don't get me wrong. But people really went off and Left Out in the Cold, which I just thought was a bit of, it was it's an average song. It's okay. It's not one of the better songs we've got on the thing.
Mate,
but people went off to that. And I was just like, okay, so we need to do more of that and less of that.
Do you know what? That's what makes music so beautiful. You can create a song and be like, this song is amazing. This song is going to change everything. You could release it and no one gives a fuck.
Yeah.
And then you can get a song, you're like, I saw it, and everyone just loves it. People try and write a song that they think's a hit, but literally you don't get no yeah, you have no decision in it. It's just it either works or it doesn't. It's weird.
Yeah, there's no way. There's no way of I suppose it is ways of writing to an audience, but what I found now is I'm just going to write what I'm going to write, and what hits, and what doesn't.
Exactly. You just got to write. Yeah, that's my approach. You just write what works for you, and that's it. And then the rest, you've got no control over the rest.
I'll go to the band sometimes and be like, I've got an idea because I want to lyrically cover this subject or this issue over here. And the song is going to be either upbeat or it's going to be quite dark or whatever. And then kind of leave them to take that interpretation their own way.
Yeah.
But if you start going, oh, well, we want to write a song so people can two-step to it and stuff like that, and you're specifically aiming for having specific parts in a song just to get a certain reaction, you'll end up creating a half-assed song because you'll just be looking for riffs that do a certain thing as opposed to the song as a whole.
Yeah, you're right.
And I think a lot of bands do that. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of bands out there that are like, well, we want people to go off to this, so we're going to specifically have beatdown, and we're specifically going to do this. And you can tell the song's been constructed around the idea of the crowd reaction they want as opposed to
of course. Yeah, we
creating the song. And I'm sure we've all been guilty of it at some point or another.
Yeah, of course we have. Yeah.
Like, you need to put this in there now. I mean, even Carrie was saying to me, like, you can't only have a two-step for 4 bars. And I was like, what? It was like, because by the time people get into it and start two-stepping,
it stops.
You've changed it and moved on to something else.
Yeah,
I was like, that's a fair point, I suppose.
That is a fair point, yeah. That is a fair point. It's
things like that I don't necessarily think about, yeah. I mean, I made a statement the other day because I wanted the song to be really aggressive and dark, and I was like, you can't put a two-step in this song, because for me, in my mind, a two-step's always kind of an upbeat, happy tune. And Hannah just looked at me and was like, you do realise, like, songs like Sick Life by Knuckledust are not happy songs, and yet there's two steps all through that fucking song.
Perfect. Yeah, you can make two steps dirty, yeah. But,
I was just, but in my mind, it's always like a two steps are happy, like, everyone, let's get together and have a little dance. Like, that's how my brain works. I was like, I've never heard like a dark, heavy two step. And she's like, you just haven't thought about it.
No, but to counter that, you got a band like Wisdom in Chains where you could say they've got like, not like songs that are quite like anthemic, you know what I mean? Like anthemy, like, and you could say, oh, they're happy, but they're hard as well. And they translate. So
they are one of the very few bands that are good at that, though. Like, you can go through Wisdom in Chains like albums, and you can go, there's a really metallic song here, there's a really punk sounding song here, there's an anthemic, uplifting song here, and they've managed to cover everything, but nothing doesn't sound like Wisdom in Chains.
They're so unique, man.
They've managed to get all these different styles that they can do within types of songs, but it will still sound like Wisdom in Chains. Nothing sounds out of place.
But they can do like the most melodic song, and it will still sound hard. I don't know how they do it. Like it's
a real songwriting talent. Like, you've got to know how to craft a song. First of all, you've got to know what your sound is and be confident in that.
Yeah.
And then be even more confident enough to take that sound and experiment around it and go, well, what about if we go more this way for this song, or we go more that direction for that song?
Yeah.
You've got to have a real understanding of how to craft a song to do that. That's a different kind of talent to just being able to pick up a guitar and play a few riffs.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, the ability to construct a song, and this is what a lot of people that are into alternative music don't seem to understand, is most really good alternative music, whether it's hip hop, whether it's hardcore, whether it's metal, still follows the same basic pop structures. It still does that verse, chorus, middle eight.
Do you think many hardcore bands do that? I don't think many hardcore bands do. I mean, I know Knuckledust do that a lot, but I don't think many bands do that no more.
I think the bands that are really successful do.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why they're successful. Because a hook is that term, an earworm, where it sits in your head and you can't fucking get it out.
Yeah.
You need to be, if you want to get to that point where people just know your shit and you become more successful off it, you've got to know how to craft a song. And the easiest song crafting thing is that verse, chorus, verse thing, because it's the easiest thing that people will catch on to. They understand that song structure because they've heard it 1,000,000,001 times.
Do you want an example of that? You know, The Weeknd.
Yeah.
The artist, The Weeknd. I used to love The Weeknd. I used to love all his really early stuff before he was famous.
Yeah.
Then he blew up and I stopped listening to him. And
the first demo is the best, yeah.
No, he's like, I'm an R&B head. I always tell people this, but like his earlier stuff was amazing, man. I still listen to it now, but he came up proper like, if you could imagine, like proper like demo tapes and all that, man. Like,
yeah.
But that Blinding Lights songs, I couldn't stand it. You know the song Blinding Lights?
Yeah.
I couldn't stand that song. I was doing my head in. Now I love that song because I just keep hearing ding ding. Ooh, blinded, blind. And I keep hearing it, and it's just it's stuck in my head, and I love that song now. Yeah,
that hook sits in your head, and you're stuck with. I remember when Pharrell Williams released that song "Happy."
I like that song as well. Yeah,
loads of people hated it on site because it was a happy, upbeat song, and like most of the people that are into alternative are like, "Oh, it's too poppy, this, that, and the other."
Yeah.
But then, like a few weeks later, they can't stop singing it because
I know.
it's just an insanely catchy hook, and it sits in your head. Suddenly, suddenly stuck in your head, and you're singing along to it, and suddenly you go and buy it or you download it or whatever because you just want to hear it to get it out of your head.
Yeah.
And the best song structure in the world, the reason that works so well is because of that really basic setup that everyone knows.
Yeah,
you can go and do some other crazy song structure shit, and if you're good at it, pull it off, and you'll get a fan base. You've only got to look at a band like Tool for that.
Yeah.
Tool fucking 13-minute long songs that go all over the fucking show.
I don't get Tool. I do like a couple of their songs, but
I'm one of the people that I do fall into that their early stuff was the better kind of thing, because I do think they sort of, as they got older, they forgot that the main thing that was good about them was that although they were technical, they could still rock out.
Yeah.
And they've kind of lost that along the way. So that's just, we've got more and more technical and more weird, but it doesn't have that ability to lock back into a real groove like on the first couple of albums.
Yeah.
You go and listen to like the Undertow album, songs like Sober. It's catchy. It's still got mad technical bits to it, but it's really catchy. It's got a nice groove to it when it kicks back in towards the chorus and that. And that's what makes it really good music.
Yeah.
But the more spaced out, the more weird they get, the more you kind of like, fucking 13 minutes of what? All mad polyrhythms and shit. I don't know if I can tolerate this.
That's too long. 30 minutes per song is just way too long, man. It's funny because in hardcore, songs are just getting shorter and shorter. Like bands are now like, why? It can't be longer than 2 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, we are massively guilty of going over that in Infraction. I think a lot of our songs are 3.5 to 4 minutes, and that's considered very long for a hardcore song.
Yeah, I think 3.5 is. I would say 3.5 is fair. Like 4 minutes is the max, but I think between 3 and 3.5 is all right. But that's not long, That's not even that long.
It's not that long, and the thing is, like, I might struggle to fit the lyrics I want into.
That's the problem. You, as a vocalist, it must be like, how can you tell a story in like 2 minutes?
Well, I'm stunned by bands that used to come up in like the Minor Threat era, like 1.5 minutes.
Yeah, it's mad. It's nuts.
Like you've literally got like 2 seconds to say what you've got to say for each verse.
Yeah,
just fucking go. And don't get me wrong, all them songs are literally just like
it can work. Yeah. I mean,
it's just a man screaming a bunch of slogans for 2 minutes sort of thing, and it got over. But I don't. Again, it's that thing. I come from a hip hop background. I'm used to the whole idea of telling a story.
Yeah.
And that requires progression, and unfortunately, that also requires an amount of time to do.
Yeah.
You can't just go like first verse, second verse, and out if you're trying to construct the whole sort of story around it.
Yeah.
If you're doing Rage Against the Machine, you get to shout out the same slogan over and over again, then you can do it.
Well, again, the catchy chorus.
Well, in their case, the catchy outro.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't even think most kids that heard that for the first time even knew what he was singing about, but the fuck you won't do what you tell me at the end of it. Angsty teenagers are going to sing that to their parents all day long.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, exactly. Do you remember when there was was it BBC or something, and they done that song? Remember when that song was a Christmas #1?
It was a Christmas #1 as a protest to X Factor, wasn't it?
That's it. And they performed it on some TV program, some like daytime TV program, and they promised they wasn't going to do the swearing bit at the end, and he done it.
Yeah,
and had to cut it off.
I remember when it came out originally, and someone played it on the radio, and they forgot to play the cut version, and they got a fucking bollocking from the BBC for it.
Oh, really?
Because they didn't realise. It was like, oh shit, didn't realise it did that at the end, sort of thing. And It's like, oh fuck, we put the wrong version on. Bollocks.
That's a hard line, though, isn't it? Fuck you, I want to do. I know, like.
I think the reason it comes across hard is if you've listened to the rest of the song and paid attention to what the song's actually about. Yes.
Yeah.
But if you just take it as most kids do, it's just like, I'm going to sing that to
my
parents.
Fuck this,
yeah. Then it's just a teenage angsty load of bullshit like most new metal.
But ain't songs? Some artists don't. I know with this particular song, this is not the case. But some songs they want the listeners to make their own interpretation of it.
Yeah, I mean, you've only got to look at I'm trying to think. Take like Deftones. The lyrics are so fucking vague in some Deftones songs. They could be literally about anything.
Yeah.
Like you have to make up your own decision what some of their songs are about. Because they're not really lyrically. I don't seem to be about anything.
Yeah. So never got into Deftones either.
First couple of albums I really liked.
Yeah.
It's like Korn. The first Korn album, I really like that. It's got some fucking amazing riffs on it.
I heard you talking about this on May's the podcast you've done with May. I can't speak at the moment. Yeah, the podcast you've done with May. And I know that one song.
Blind, the opening track. Well, I mean, like I said, I remember seeing them live play that, and they would all come on one by one because that song introduces each instrument one by one. Like, that song sets up. It starts off with just the hi hat, the right hand, ding 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 ding.
That's the dope way to come on. To be fair,
and then one of the guitarists come on, and you get the bass player come in, and then the other guitarist came in, and then Jonathan Davis comes sprinting across the stage, just grab the mic as you end up in a ball on the other side of the stage, and then the fucking venue just went absolutely ballistic,
crazy.
And that was kind of for me like. Nu metal wasn't a thing back then. Like they were really the first.
They created nu metal,
and it was so interesting and so different at the time, considering everything you'd listened to before. That was probably thrash. There's thrash, there was hair metal, and there was your traditional sort of Iron Maiden, Judas Priest type stuff.
They created a whole genre of music, man. That's insane.
Then I think the same about grime artists.
Yeah.
Grime's been around, less than 20 years?
Yeah.
And yet you've got people from that scene now that are headlining Glastonbury.
It's mad, isn't it?
Like, that's a genre of music that is less than 20 years old. That literally came into being in my lifetime, in my adulthood. Not even in my lifetime, in my adulthood.
Yeah.
And it's headlining Glastonbury. That shows you what people can do if they put their mind to it.
It's weird because I never ever thought grime would be that big, but
I don't think people like Wiley and Dizzy thought it was going to be that big when they started it.
University kids love it, man. They absolutely love it.
That's what's hilarious to me. Is I used to do door work on some of the little venues where it first kind of started getting into little clubs and shit, and it was predominantly like street kids that were into it. You know what I mean? And now I see people at grime shows and that, and it's like round the block, and it's all like uni kids, middle class families, and I'm just
it is.
What in the fuck happened here? Like, and this is what talking about the racing where it's a complete flip. I'm like, there shouldn't be this many white people at a grime show. Like, it feels weird to me. It's just like this coming from a white guy. I'm like, there should be like 3 or 4 of us that come from the sort of East London areas that are into it, but there shouldn't be this many people into this music like this, man. It seems really fucking strange.
I don't know. I think it's just like if you're from a rich background, maybe you just find that side of find it intriguing.
Yeah, it's like people that are into serial killers and into like gangster, true life story gangster stuff, who have never been a part of that kind of lifestyle or whatever. They're interested in it because they know it exists. It's a little bit dangerous. Well, in some cases, very fucking dangerous to be involved in. And, they're never going to be a part of that life. So to be able to have that window into it is what attracts them.
That's the thing. They can open the window, they can look at it, stare at it, enjoy it, and then they can close the window and go back to the normal,
why do so many
nice
people,
life?
Why do so many people like Goodfellas and Scarface?
Yeah,
it's a window into a lifestyle you will never ever get close to lead. Unless you are super unlucky in life. Because I don't care what people say about, being a gangster's glamorous. It's fucking dangerous.
No.
I wouldn't wish that lifestyle on anyone.
No.
Like, it's like every 5 seconds you're looking over your back in case someone comes up and fucking sticks a knife in you.
I would hate that, man. I would hate that.
I mean, I did a couple of years in that kind of lifestyle, and fuck that bollocks. I wouldn't go back to that if you paid me.
Yeah, I was. Nah, I don't like the looking over your shoulder thing, man. I couldn't deal with that. Like,
mate, I used to walk around Oxford. I used to walk around central London with a meat cleaver in my back.
Bloody hell, man!
Because
debt collecting.
It was just, that was the risk. If I was walking around central London, around Soho area, the risk was I was going to get into a scrap.
Yeah.
You know, that, and they were going to put a knife on me, and I was just like, well, I'll have something that I can defend myself with, if nothing else.
Yeah.
And I quickly learned that a lot of kids carry knives but won't actually use them. Back then, anyway, not so much now. But back then, kids would carry knives, but they'd use them as like a threat. People that were carrying meat cleavers and the little hatchet axe type things were people that were actually going to do something.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was just like, you know, you get the sort of reckoning, I'll carry a meat cleaver, and then if I pull it, people know that there's likely to get fucking hit with it.
I remember, did I ever tell you about it? I actually saw someone get killed.
No.
In Beckton. Did I ever tell you that story?
No. Somehow it doesn't surprise me because it's Beckton.
Yeah. No, it's just, I remember, basically, we were visiting a neighbour who lived in another close in Beckton.
Yeah.
And then there was a row going on out. So we were in the house, we're having food and that, and then we hear a row outside. So my dad and, the person whose house we visited went outside to see what was going on. And it was like some geezer was just banging on someone's door saying, give me back my fucking money, give me back my money. So to cut a long story short, he bought a car off this guy. The car was a bag of shit and he wanted his money back. So he's kicking the door, he's making so much noise, but he's making so much noise that by this time the whole close was watching.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, the doors opened and then I didn't actually see him get stabbed, but the door opens and then you just see this guy just stagger back holding his stomach.
Yeah, and you know what's happened, sort of thing.
Yeah. And literally he just dropped to the ground and literally just died. Right in front of my eyes.
Yeah, that's fucked up, man.
And I remember my dad, like, I was only about 12 or 13. I remember my dad wanted to go over and I'm saying to my dad, don't go, because I was thinking my dad's going to get stabbed.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, you don't...
Yeah.
That whole thing of don't get involved in it ain't your shit sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's not your problem. Don't go and get involved because you'll just end up fucking getting yourself hurt.
Yeah, exactly that. And I just remember seeing this guy's lie on the ground and then just a pool of blood and the police turned up, the ambulance turned up, and then it transpired that he died.
Yeah.
And that put me off. When I saw that put me off ever thinking about carrying a knife or... that's why I'm bringing that story up, because once I saw that, I was like, no, I don't want to ever be carrying a knife. I'll rather just use my fist and that's it.
Yeah, and there is that sort of thing. It is true where if you're carrying something, there's probably more likely to get in a situation where you need to use it. That's definitely a thing.
Yeah.
Like, because your mindset is different. Like, you're carrying something and you're like, you know what? If anything does happen, I'm not too scared because I've got something on me that I can defend myself with.
And would you have used it?
Yeah. Mate, someone pulls a knife on me and I've got that in my back pocket. Of course I'm going to fucking use it.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to risk trying to be honourable and be like, oh no, I'll just use my hands. Fuck that.
But if you was to kill someone with that you couldn't use
that's your life fucked.
Defense. Yeah, you couldn't use defense that'd be intent because you're carrying it.
You're carrying it, yeah. I mean, there's so little in this country you can use as defense because it has to be what they call an improvised weapon.
A cone or
so like, yeah, if you've got a water bottle in your bag or something because you're carrying water with you and you hit someone with a water bottle, then that's fine because you clearly weren't carrying it with the intent of using it as a weapon. You had water in it. But if you've got like one of them sort of, I can't remember what they're actually called, but they're like little sticks that you put on your key ring that you can jab people in the face with. They're like little metal rod type thing. that's a weapon, and then you've only got that on your keyring with the intent of using it to hit someone with.
Yeah.
You know. So that's one of them situations. You've got you can't use much without getting done for intent.
So my video is locked up. So if you're looking at me and I've frozen, it's because my phone's died. So just ignore my weird. My eyes at the moment are staring in an odd direction to the right. So just ignore it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, sorry, you were saying. Sorry, mate, go on.
But yeah, like there's all the law of every is you can only use what's considered an improvised weapon. So anything you're carrying on you that you could be remotely considered being used for defense, you'd get fucked for anyway, and definitely something sharp.
Yeah, it's not. I'm glad that you got out of that, mate, and I'm glad that you never got into a situation where you had to use it, mate.
I'm glad I got out of it. I mean, I still have friends from that world that I keep in contact with, but not to the extent that I never go back to it. Like, it's cool to have people that I chat to and are mates, and they'll tell me some of the crazy shit that's still going on. I'm just like, you are welcome to that shit, my friend.
Yeah.
But like the girl who I used to date from that whole thing, she's moved back with her family to Hong Kong, so she's kind of in the clear of it to a certain degree.
Wow.
There's always elements of their life over in Hong Kong. You know, that's what it is. That's their family. That's what they've always done. But she's much safer over there than she was here, I think.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds nuts, man. That sounds nuts. I'm talking about fists. I had someone that I knew what 6 or 7 years ago. He was unlucky. He got in a situation where someone was racially abusing him. Yeah. They were drunk. He punched them. They fell, and unfortunately, they died. And he went prison for. Yeah, he got manslaughter, but he went down for about 5 years, man.
And that's the thing is, like, you get into a fight on the street, you hit someone over, they crack their skull on the concrete. You don't know what state they're going to be in.
Yeah.
All them situations, it's one of the things that annoys me the most when people like try to act like a hard man or tough or gangster and all the rest of it. I'm just like, it doesn't impress me anymore, because it's just like, you're going to end up in a shit situation down the line.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like, nothing good comes out of that in the long run.
Definitely, mate. Definitely that, man. That. John, man. I'm gonna have to. I'm starting to pass out a bit here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of a late one, and both of us need to eat, I'm sure, at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, good to catch up anyway, Wema. Right, guys, that's enough for today. We'll catch you next week, and yeah, speak to you soon. And Wema, we'll get you back on at some other point.
Yeah, definitely, man. Cool, man. All right.
Take care, guys.
Yeah, bye.